Okay, I'm going to do another Pink Floyd review, and today I'm going to review Obscured by Clouds. It's the film soundtrack for a film called La Vallée. I think there was a dispute between the band and the film company, so they ended up just calling it Obscured by Clouds. And consciously, they didn't want, when they designed the cover, although it's designed by Hypnosis, they knew that it was going to compete with Dark Side of the Moon, which was going to be released a few months later, and they didn't want anything too good to go out as the cover. Well, it's not a brilliant cover, is it? But Hypnosis insisted on giving it the full treatment, and they at least made an effort to come up with some kind of artistic cover, and it's better than the cover for More, so we'll say that. And this is an album which I've probably neglected over the years, and I know that I've seen people like James Griffiths review Floyd album or rank the Floyd albums, and this one's always fairly high up the list. And I remember liking some of it when I bought it on CD, and I only recently acquired it on vinyl. Maybe I was put off by some of the instrumentals, but I've recently gone back to it, partly because both my sons were telling me, you've got to listen to Obscured by Clouds, it's a major album. And thankfully I can report that I have reappraised it, or actually got into it fully for the first time, and I can say, in my opinion, that a lot of it is really good, particularly the first two tracks, Obscured by Clouds and When You're In. Instrumentals, Waters Gilmour the first one, Waters Gilmour Mason Wright the second, with some really nice heavy guitar work from Gilmour, that great riff in When You're In. I haven't seen the movie, but a lot of these tunes I think were specifically timed to go with sections of the film. Apparently they recorded it near Paris, at the what's it called? I've got the name of the chateau. It's the same chateau in France where Elton John recorded his Honky Chateau album and Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. There were another number of other famous albums recorded there, which I can't remember offhand. But Pink Floyd seemed to like recording in France because they recorded a lot of The Wall in France as well. I'm not sure, I don't think that was in the same studio though. This was at a time when there was no acrimony between the band members, and they were all collaborating freely, vocally, lyric-wise. There was no domination from Roger on the lyric front, and this album was to see some of the last Gilmour lyrics before Momentary Lapse of Reason, which was after Waters left. I forget which song the song credited to Gilmour alone, Childhood's End, must be Gilmour lyrics, because no one else is given a writing credit. And for the most part, the lyrics are not bad on this album, but you could easily see that on Dark Side of the Moon they took a step up in terms of meaning and thoughtfulness. Here it's actually difficult to know who wrote which lyric, because none of them are particularly memorable, or some of them I thought were so bad it can't be Roger, but I think it probably was, because Stay, a track sung by Rick Wright, has some fairly weak lyrics, and I thought that must be a Rick Wright lyric, and then I looked at the writing credits and it says Wright Waters, and I think I read that Waters wrote those lyrics, which are not brilliant at all. Free 4, it was a single in the US, and is the only song on the album, if you can believe it, where Roger sings the lead vocal. I guess that was a feature in the early Floyd, before Dark Side of the Moon, or even on that, Gilmour's singing a lot of the lead vocal. So Roger was to take a while, basically, to develop confidence in his vocal ability. And here it's well kept from the fore, only on this one track, which is a delightful track. Didn't do much as a single, I don't think, but I like it a lot, and it's got some humour in it, which Roger's work would not have in it for the next few years at least, and hardly in his solo career. Before we get to the good stuff, I'll just cover the negative. Absolutely Curtains at the end is a kind of, starts off as a kind of instrumental, then goes into this this chanting of this tribe, which was featured in the film, and it doesn't bear for repeated listening, put it that way. And perhaps it was things like that which put me off the album originally, because the album finishes fairly weakly with Stay and Absolutely Curtains, but Childhood's End, which opens side 2, is pretty much vintage Pink Floyd, and very reminiscent of the song Time from Dark Side of the Moon the following year, in terms of the drum work from Nick Mason and Gilmour's vocal, and and the guitar work. It's just brilliant, and play this one loud. And as I say, the first 2 tracks on the album are great, and then Burning Bridges is a nice instrumental composed by Wright and Waters. The Golds in the composed by Waters and Gilmour has a Gilmour vocal. One of his rockier vocals, it's okay, it's not really one of my favourites, but the highlight perhaps of the whole album is the next track, What's the Deal, written by Waters Gilmour, and Gilmour singing a beautiful lead vocal and beautiful acoustic guitar. Quite a sentimental song probably, and maybe for that reason they didn't play it in concert. Gilmour resurrected it for his 2006 solo tour and put it on the subsequent album. And it's a lost gem, if not lost amongst the fans, not talked about at all among the general public in the same way as, say, Comfortably Numb or Money is. This song deserves reappraisal, complete reappraisal. It's an absolute classic, and Gilmour's melody is beautiful, and his guitar work is sensational, and there's 2 piano solos from Rick Wright, which are simple, minimalistic, but very effective, and then a beautiful slide guitar solo from Gilmour sounding quite George Harrison-esque. So that's a really strong song. And then Mud Men closes side 1 in fine fashion. Instrumental, yes, but atmospheric and well played. This is the label of the new vinyl. So I don't think the band are particularly proud of this album. Or maybe in subsequent years they said they were, but at the time they didn't really promote it much. And obviously when Dark Side of the Moon came out, this was put into the shadow, but released June 1972. So quite a few months before Dark Side of the Moon. I think it was reasonably successful in the UK, but perhaps not in the US. But well worth investigating, and if not a completely top drawer Pink Floyd album, not far from it. Thank you for watching, and Merry Christmas to everyone. See you.